Big 8 game as a starting quarterback. He was 20-0 as a starting quarterback, 28-2 as a starting overall as a player. He's a two-sport athlete, one of those first pioneers in two-sport athletes. Played football and baseball. Played Canadian Football League for a couple years, and also played in the Major League Baseball organization with the Cleveland Indians. And then he came back to Nebraska as a coach. And coached there from 1992 to 2004. And during those 13 years, they went to a bowl game every year. In one stretch, they played for 3 national championships in 5 years. And won 3 national championships in 5 years. And so just a tremendous job that they did under Coach Osborne. And then he went on as head football coach at Buffalo. Turned that program around in Kansas for a couple years. And then has been at Liberty going on his 2nd year. He is married to Gail, and they have 2 daughters, Jordan and Margot. Is that correct? And just really appreciate Coach Gill taking time to drive down today and just share with us. Coach Gill, let's give him a good Hickory welcome.
Thank you, Lance. Appreciate it. I think I got this coach's voice going on here, so I think you guys can be all right to hear me. Can you hear me back there pretty well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That's good there. I'm good. I don't have one of those little weasel quarterback voices that some kind of like a quarterback and they don't have a little voice. I say, man, you got to get some bass in your voice, man. You got to carry that thing on out. Well, I'm going to thank the Lord for giving me this opportunity to share with you a little bit about FCA, but a little bit more about how we can be even impactful in our lives for God wherever we're at your workplace, also at your as a football team or whatever you may have, also at your family, as being a leader, as God has called all men to be leaders, no matter where in the walk of life you're at, and we need to do those things. I'm just going to share a quick verse here that I think is very impactful for me, and I kind of look at this here part of my testimony, I guess, as far as I look at it. Revelation 3:20. It says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and will dine with him and he with me." And I chose that verse because today God is knocking on the door. Every moment, every day, he's always knocking on the door to see if you're going to open it. See if you're going to receive what he wants you to do today for him. To give him the glory, to give him all the things that he has earned and deserved by dying on the cross for you and for me. I got to know the Lord in a unique way from the side of Coach Osborne, obviously been involved, but also through my parents, how they chose to live their life and how they influenced me in what to do and how to do things. My dad had nothing to do with God. My dad said it's my job to provide. My job is to go out and work. My dad worked 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. He just went out and worked. Sundays, he went out and worked. My mom, she would take myself, I have 2 sisters, and would take us to church. And, sometimes we were there, we listened, sometimes you didn't. Sometimes I would sneak out and I would leave church and then come back right when church is over. Thinking like I was there, but I wasn't there. Wasn't there physically, and sometimes wasn't even there mentally either. But as I go through talking about knocking on the door, God allowed me to go to the University of Nebraska. I had a lot of help, as you heard about being 20-0. There was a lot of great football players there too. It wasn't me being 20-0, it was really our whole football team doing that. But I went to Nebraska, had an opportunity to go there and play football, and I really loved to be able to play football and really baseball there. I chose the University of Nebraska because of Tom Osborne, him alone. I grew up saying if Oklahoma offered me a scholarship, that's where I was going to go. They offered me a scholarship. God changed and caused some other things to do something in a different way. I chose Nebraska. And really, as the time went along, Coach Osborne, my sophomore year, I can remember when I went to meet with him right before camp was done and going into the first week of the season, had an opportunity to see where I was at on the depth chart. He told me, I said, Turner, you're the 13 guy as a quarterback. I'm going to start the upperclassmen and give him an opportunity. He's earned that and deserved that. I kind of was a guy a little bit, I don't know if you want to say aggressive, of that nature, talking to Coach Osborne. I said, well, Coach, I'm not necessarily saying that I should be the starter, but I really believe that I was better than the second guy. I said, I should be the second team guy. And he said, well, Turner, I appreciate your thoughts and appreciate your way about going through things. But he said, I'm always going to get an opportunity of a guy that's maybe a little bit older. Maybe you are about even with the guy as a second team guy, but because he's an upperclassman, I think he deserves and earned an opportunity to be the backup guy going into the season. So, I said, okay, I understand that. Well, things did occur in that my sophomore season. I got an opportunity to play. I remember my first time got in the ball game. I went in there and hit, and then I got my teeth hit. I had blood. The other team had to call, my teammates had to call timeout. I'm in the huddle calling the play, and they called timeout. They looking at me doing like this, and I don't know what they're talking about. They called timeout, and I come over to the sideline, and Coach Osborne, in his unique voice, as some of you may know or heard of him, he is very, very monotone as a coach in the way he talks. Turner, what's wrong? I said, look at your blood. You got the trainer come on over and they got me all fixed up. And that was my first play of a game in college football, is I ended up getting hit in the mouth and ended up having my mouthpiece. I had the wrong type of mouthpiece. I had the mouthpiece for my lower teeth versus my upper teeth. So that caused me on my front tooth to get chipped and knocked off a little bit, and so I had to do that. So I learned, and now I know always with my quarterback, make sure you get the upper mouthpiece in your mouth so you won't be like me as having those things. But as time went along, that rest of that year, I ended up playing and ended up getting hurt. And then I got hurt right before the Oklahoma game. That was a really, really tempting opportunity for me to play, and I was very disappointed in it. But one statement really changed my life as I continue to move forward is I got hurt, and I had an emergency surgery because I had drop foot. Some of you may have heard the term drop foot or phrase, where you can't move your ankle at all. And that's what the type of injury that I had in my sophomore year. And a doctor told me, he said at that time, says, Turner, I don't know if you're going to be able to heal. I don't know if you're able to heal you or not. But he said, the only way that you're going to get healed is by prayer. And that was stunning to me, to be honest with you. God placed this doctor here to heal me. That's kind of what I had in my mind. And I know Nebraska had the best doctors, and he was going to heal me. But he said, Turner, the only way you're going to get healed is really by prayer. Yes, my hand's going to have to do some things here, but he said, the only way you can get healed is by prayer. I still didn't accept Jesus at that particular time. Again, I had one of those hard heads. I was kind of always trying to do things on myself and my own. But God allowed me to continue to play football the next year, and then I went on and had some things occur in a good way and all those things. And then I was blessed to have an opportunity to go play in the Canadian Football League. And I remember talking to Tom Osborne periodically about things in his life. I can remember Tom always sharing some verses for the football team. Then I got to go to Montreal, and referred back to that. I had some money, had the fame, and have all those things, but I was still missing something. And then I finally asked Tom, I asked another teammate of mine by Todd Brown. I said, I've always admired the way you guys have lived your life. I need to know why you live the way you live. I said, I'm still frustrated. I still don't understand. I got all these things, but I don't have any peace in my mind and my heart. And that's when they shared the gospel with me. And so that's where, at that time, when they shared me about accepting Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior and know for certain that you're going to heaven, that's when I knocked the door down. I knocked the door completely down. As I had the door open, I knocked it down, and I've accepted Christ, and I know for certain, no matter what happens in my life, that I am going to heaven. I appreciate Tom. I appreciate the doctor. I appreciate Todd Brown, who is the person that actually led me to Christ. And so that's kind of my testimony as far as accepting Christ. I'm going to share with you a little bit, too, I think it's something very important. I like FCA. I love FCA, and because it's very impactful from the side point of doing things for Jesus Christ and giving him the glory. Their vision statement, it states all that. And another thing that they state about here is really about the core values and really the mission. And one of the missions is, as some of you right here as being the coach's ministry, campus ministry, a camp ministry, and a community ministry. So that can fit everybody in this room. You fit somewhat in that ministry if you want to be a part of FCA. Because we all can be influential in everybody's lives that you come in contact with, at home, at work, and if you happen to be a coach, and even those who go to football games, baseball games, any sporting events. As a fan, you can be impactful for Christ in how you're looking at the ball game, how you cheering, how you're supporting. So we can be very impactful for God in a mighty, mighty way. I'm going to share with you about a book that I read that helped me to get to know what was my vision, what was my mission, and what were the core values for me as a father, as a husband, and as a coach. And I think FCA is showing all the things about the power that they have as far as the vision that they have. This book here by the name of George Barnum, The Power of Vision. As I was at a point in my life at Nebraska, there for 13 years, 13 years. And I came to a point in my life, and we've been talking probably the last year or two with my wife, trying to decide, you know, do we want to continue? Does God have us to continue to be here at Nebraska? I played there for 4 years, coached there for 13 years, 17 years, 18 years of my life, about the same amount of time as I was living in Texas. I spent the same amount of time in Nebraska, 17 years in Fort Worth, Texas, 17, 18 years in Nebraska. And I talked to my wife and I said, you know what? I'm not growing in my walk. I said, I'm not growing in my faith. I'm not growing in my walk with Christ. And it's on me. I'm not blaming anyone else but me. But I had in my mind, I said, I don't want to move my family. I don't want to make my family move and do this and do that. My wife says, you know what you're doing, Turner? You're closing your mind, and you're actually closing doors, allowing God to do his will for you. You cannot limit God. You cannot limit him. So we prayed about it again. We've been talking about these things over about a year to 2 years. And then we, some of you may have known as myself being there, the last year I was coach there, they had a coaching change. We got let go with Coach Solich, and then Bill Callahan got hired. And at that time, I'm trying to decide, well, God, do you want me to be here? Or is this person going to hire me, or is he not? You know, I didn't know what was going to happen. But eventually he ended up saying, Turner, I want you to stay, and so on and so forth. And my heart was still at Nebraska. So I said, I'm going to stay on board. And then my wife and I kept on continuing to talk. And then there's some things that happened to change and for what he was all about, according to God, and how to do things on the football field that affected me in my coaching. So was I going to change the way he wanted me to coach? Or was I going to coach the way I thought that God wanted me to coach? So we kind of went through the season, and I kept talking to my wife, and I just said, I just don't feel good about going to work every day. I don't feel good about going and coaching and teaching the way this coach wants me to teach. And I said, how do you feel about this? I said, what do you think? I said, I don't know. I may go in here and decide just to say that, hey, it's time for me to move on and do something else in my life. I said, are you okay? We continue to pray about it. I said, are you okay with it? My wife saying, are you okay for us to move? Do you feel God's calling you and us as a family to move? Because I know it's me moving as a job, but it's my family moving. It's our family moving. It ain't just Turner Gill. It's the family moving. And really even more, the wife is even more troublesome to doing things because of so many things that they have to do. Because I go off, or we go off and take another job, they stay back and they got to take care of a whole lot of other things that really we just don't realize at times as coaches, particularly as we may move and all that. Well, it came about here right about the week before the last game, and we had prayed and talked about it, and I prayed to God, and God laid on my heart that it was time for me to move on. And talked to my wife. I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I said, I'm okay right now whether I'm a coach, going to continue to coach, or I'm not going to coach. Let's just going to have an open mind, open heart, and see where God's going to lead us. Are you okay with that? Does God calling you in the same way? And she said, Turner, I'm just open mind and open heart to what God wants to do. So I went in, I think right after the game there, we played our last football game, and went into the coach and talked to him and said, I'm decided to resign as of today at this moment. And he tried to talk me out of it. They brought the athletic director, tried to talk me out of it and all those type of things. And they were doing it in a great way of saying that financially, Turner, why don't you just stay on the staff, go and interview for jobs, and then, you know, when you decide you get a place that you want to go, then we'll take care of you from there. We're going to take care of you financially. I said, no. God has called me to go right now, this moment. I don't care about the money. I don't care what's happening. I'm going to trust God that he's going to take care of my family. And I said, well, what are you going to do? Don't you have a job? Do you have an interview? I said, no, I do not. I have no idea what's going to happen and where I'm going to go and what type of job I'm going to have in the future. I said, this is what God has called me to do, and for my family also. And so God opened up many doors. And again, I'm not going to go into the history and things that have occurred in my life, but I just want to share that with you in saying that God told me to get out of my comfort zone. And that's what I was doing. I was controlling my life versus allowing God to do his will in my life. And some of us may be in this room that you may be dwelling on those type of things. Again, I'm not saying that you got to quit your job and do that. God may not call you to do that as far as drastically what I did. But all I'm saying is just in making sure that you're not closing any doors. Don't limit God's ability. Don't limit his ability to do what he can do in your life. Again, it has nothing to do with maybe job-wise or whatever, but even just the family-wise of how they to do things. As I go back to this book here I mentioned about George Barnard, about the vision. God, he taught me the time of being able to show what my vision and core values and mission and so on. And so God called me at that point in time as I was going through that progress to say, yeah, maybe it's an opportunity for you to be a head football coach. So I knew I had to get together what was going to be the vision, what was going to be the mission, and what was going to be the core values that I'm going to make sure I got to stand by. So therefore, I don't let outside circumstances, don't let other things come into play that's going to take me off track of what God wants me to do. This book here of George Barnard is really about to a pastor. It's about a church, of being able to teach a pastor how to go about getting your congregation to get into your vision, your mission, and your core values. And it talks about how to go about setting your vision and your core values and mission. So I read that book, and it helped me to put into place of what my core values and vision and mission statements were going to be. And I started out here, this is part of our vision statement that I have here at Liberty University. And I'm going to talk about just a little bit of some of the things that I changed depending on what university that I have been at. Right now, our vision is to inspire each other to glorify Christ while striving to be conference and national champions. Our family vision statement is to inspire each other to glorify Christ. To inspire each other to glorify Christ. That's what our vision statement for my family, my wife and our 2 daughters. We talk about that on a weekly basis. We talk about what has happened during the week, and are we doing those things, or have we done those things? We always got to have those checkers and balances to know if you're following through on things. You can have a policy, a vision, a mission, but if you don't go back and check it out, how do you know if you're doing things according to what God has called you? So that's our vision. The example one I had at Buffalo and Kansas, changed it up a little bit just because of the public institution. It talked about really to provide a positive, a motivated environment that includes being able to have positive and growth in every aspect of your life. That was our vision statement at the other 2 institutions that I've been at. Our mission statement. Again, a mission statement is your actions that you're going to do to get to your vision, as most of you know. So our vision statement, our mission statement that I have now here at Liberty is building champions for Christ. I got it off of the word believe as the acoustic. The acoustic, that word there, as far as having a word for each letter in the word believe. So B is building champions for Christ. That's what we're trying to do is we're here to build champions for Christ at Liberty University. At the other institution, I had believe in each other and the things not yet seen. As again, at a public institution, was unable to have something about Christ or God in there, but I changed it away, building each other, trusting each other as far as the things not yet seen. That's talking about faith, talking about trust. So I still had the scriptural things in there. It just wasn't just as broad out there as far as that goes. Some people kind of balked at it. As I interviewed for certain jobs, I talked to those ADs, talked to their committee, and said that, here's my mission statement. I'm going to go by this mission statement right here. If there's something here you don't like, let me know now. I'm not the right guy for you. But I did share that with them in those 2 places at Buffalo and in Kansas, where they hired me all those things. And they asked me the question, or I remember one committee member asked me the question, said, okay, how are you going to present yourself and talk about God? Are you going to talk about God to your coaches? Are you going to talk about God to your players? I said, yes. If God presents that to me, an opportunity for me to share things from the Bible, I said, that's who I am. I said, I'm not an evangelist as far as going out and just preaching the word, but if the opportunity presents itself, I will share about Christ. I said, okay. I didn't hide anything from any public institution, so they knew what they're going to be getting. So if they hired me, they wouldn't come back to, well, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. I said, I am who I am, as far as what they need to do as far as that goes. So that's kind of part of that mission statement. Then E, in believe, is empower people by encouragement. And all these are really from scripture verses that I have. I'm not going to go through every single one of those as far as through the scriptures, but I do have scriptures that refer to all that. And then L is learn and press on toward the goal. As I talk to our players, it's all about trying to learn and press on. If you don't know how to be able to learn something from everything that occurs, and if you're not able to learn something from your teammates, from your coaches, then you're going to have a very difficult time to really move forward in life. Obviously, for Christ, you need to be able to learn things and press on toward the goal. As in Christ, he talks about the upward call in Jesus Christ. But again, this verse here, this acoustic that I use on the guys every day, we talk about it every day. Then the next one is I, influenced by being a positive role model. I talk to the guys, say, you are a role model whether you like it or not. That's part of it. God has placed you here. When God has given you an opportunity to play the game of sports, he has put you there for a role model to glorify him. I know some guys and some people not going to necessarily say they're a role model, but they are. And so I tell them about that. And I say, now, when we go about doing things, you got to remember, you have an influence. You have an influence. As you were younger, when you were growing up, you saw a football player in high school, and you always admired that person. He was influential in your life. You want to be like a guy that was a junior or senior in high school. It's no different than yourself now, being in college. You have people from the ages from 5 years old, probably up to 80 years old, that are admiring what you're doing and how you're doing it. The next letter is E, expect great effort all the time. This one here, I always talk about our players. I say the key word there is expect. God expects you to do what he wants you to do in each and every day. We expect you to do what's right. Then I talk about measuring effort. How do you measure effort? We measure effort, number one, academically. I said, I expect you to go to class every day. I expect you to take proper notes every day. That's effort. That has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with your background, where you came from, or whatever. It really has nothing to do with that. All it takes is an effort. If you do those two things, going to class every day, you take proper notes, you're going to pass the class. I'm not going to sit here and say you're going to get an A. You may not get a B. But you're going to pass the class if you do those two things. So that's how I measure effort on the academic side of our players. Effort on the football field. How do you measure effort on the football field with each individual guy? We take really a DVD or a copy of a player and on tape how fast he can run. On a scrimmage play, on just a 40-yard dash, we put this on a DVD and we can see how fast he runs. Whether he is a 4.2 guy, whether he's a 5.5 guy. We're going to put him on tape and he sees it. We put about 10 to 12 clips of that so that he can see it. And then that way we end up comparing on a football play if he ran as fast as we know he can run. We've already got him on a DVD how fast he can run. So we can measure on that play if he is running as fast as he can. We just put that one up, and say, okay, let's look at this and see. It's not subjective, it has facts. And being able to measure what he can do by his effort. That's all I said, I'm going to ask you to do something that you can control. Not what a coach can control depending on this, that, and the other. No. He can control how fast he can run. Yeah, I know in football, you're going to get tackled, you're going to get clipped, you're going to get knocked down. And so, coach, how are you going to be able to see a guy running fast if you run a 40 yards? He ain't going to run a 40 yard in a game. Probably never. But through the short clip of a 5-yard or a 10-yard, I can see him running. And we all know, some of you that are here are coaches, particularly when a guy is on the backside, is he running? Is he jogging or is he running? You can see the difference in that. And so that's really the reason why I can show that clip to those guys to sit here and know that, yeah, he got clipped, he got knocked down or whatever, but it takes effort to get up and go from point A to point B. He can control that. So that's how we measure the effort. Again, expect great effort all the time from our players. Next letter is V, visualize excellence. I'm big into talking about our players to being able to visualize the positive. Visualize the positive thing that they can do as a person, hopefully also in their spiritual walk, in your academics, and obviously on the football field. Visualizing that you can do the great things. Again, we go on a DVD, give those guys, put it all on there, put 10 to 12 clips of his best play. Put 10 clips, the same clip, over and over and over again, so he can visually see that as he watches that DVD at night at home. You know, nowadays, you know, they like to carry those things on. They got computers, some of them do, that have it right with them. They can just show it and pull it up right then and see it in their minds. During the game, then when something negative occurs, we can point to that clip so he can get a positive thing in his mind so he can go out and perform in a great way. So visualizing excellence. Coach, we got to visualize excellence too. Part of our job as our coaches. There's some of the guys, when somebody's not doing well, you got to now put something positive in his mind so that he can get something done well on the football field. And the last E is enjoy the college football experience. We want to enjoy it. We want to do all the great things and be able to have fun. We bring out some things to break out the monotony, as we know in coaching profession, and every day you do a lot of things over and over again, but you want to make sure you have some fun while you're doing it. And so that's kind of the mission that God placed in my heart that I have. Again, it's for my family. It's also for the football. So I use this same mission statement for me as a father and as a husband. Do I do these things every day? So it's not just for the football thing that's for the coach, but it's also just for me and my family, that's making sure that I'm doing the right things for my wife and my kids to honor God and what He's called me to do. Then the core values, the last little thing here, no different than the FCA. They got their strong core value and all that. And so I'm going to go through this here fairly quickly. I'm big in the acoustics again. I got this here. It's called Catch UC. These 7 words, again, they're all words that you've heard many, many times. Character. This one requires one exit without question. I do not have to worry about trying to worry about somebody, what they're doing when nobody's watching. So are their ethics in question? And really for me, when I use this core value, it's about, even with my 2 daughters, I kind of ask these questions. If something good occurs, I ask about the question about the character. Something negative occurs, I ask these things here to my daughters. And to me, myself. And to my football team. And to my coaching staff. So if I'm trying to make some decisions on, is this person part of the problem, or is he part of the solution? And I use these here terms here. Next one is, like I said, Catch UC is the one I keep up with, is attitude. The quality of always being positive. Is this person positive or is he not positive? Next one is T is teachability. Is this person able to take the information given to him or her and be able to put it into action? That's a person being able to be teaching. Next one is C, communication. Does this person have a sense of urgency to be able to communicate, and he does it on a regular basis? Communication is huge. We all know that no matter what you're doing in life. Communication. Sometimes we communicate and it's taken out of context. Sometimes they communicate and you didn't explain it well enough. But communication is very, very important. H is humility. This is my own little definition here. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses without arrogance. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses without arrogance. I think that's huge. We all got to look at ourselves to know how we can move forward and do things in the right way. Sometimes some of us may have taken criticism, can't take it. You take it in the wrong way. But again, you got to know what you can do well, and you also got to know what you need to improve on. And so you got to have the humility. U, putting others ahead of your own personal gain. Unity. Unify. We use that word a lot, teamwork. You use it all different ways, but as far as in this acoustic that I have is a unity in this word. And the last one is C, is commitment. Are you able to have a push forward and have a serious promise in a way that you can show that you are committed with confidence? That's what I talk about to our coaching staff. Or you present yourself in a way with confidence to make sure that our players have been able to show that you're committed. And the same thing with our players. Or you're able to show body language. When I say show, you can tell somebody's body language where they feel confident in what you're saying and what you're doing. I'm big into watching people's body language. Big into people when they just talk to them and then they walk away from you. What's the body language saying? Is he accepting what you just said to him? Or is he not accepting what he's saying to you? And we all know what we're talking about. You're all in this walk of life, and again, it doesn't have to do with football. This is just talking about even just in your own family and even in your own workplace. As some of you are leaders and over certain people and trying to be able to make sure that they can get things corrected in the right way. But those are some of the things that share, I just wanted to share those things with you, more from the side of it, of trying to hopefully can impact what God can do in your life by being able to have a plan to sit here and say, do you have a vision? Do you have a mission? And do you have core values to help you to stay on track and do what God has called you to do? And giving him the glory in everything you do and everything that you say. So we can be very impactful in our society. As we all know in sports, good or bad, how you want to look at it, it is so impactful in our society. So many people are into sports. And we can have such a great influence on our male people in our society. Because we got to get our males, particularly as our younger group, as they continue to grow up, to know what the truth is and knowing what the facts are, how they need to go about living their lives. Knowing how they need to treat women, being respectful. And as we all know, unfortunately, in today's world, I see it every day in the coaching deal, that you're not entitled to it just because of this, that, and the other. You have to work at it. You have to work at it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate all your assistance and your help that you do for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I am very, very involved in it, not necessarily just as a speaker, but involved in any way that I can so that we can make this place a better place for God and for our future. May God continue to bless all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach Gill. I'm ready to suit up. Let's go. You ready to go?